Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to GBFC, the George Benson Football Channel or the George Benson Football Club. Whichever way you guys want to be a part of it, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to take a look at a few different ways how Ruben Loftus Cheek, the man who's been injured, the man who's had a, well, you could say a nastier Achilles injury than Callum Hudson-Odoi, is looking to get back into this Chelsea team, but he's playing in a position where we've actually got an abundance of talent already. So in this video today, I'm going to try and break down where I think Ruben's going to come in. We're going to take a look at a few different variables. We're going to try and put Mason Mount and Loftus Cheek in the same 11 and talk about how Ruben being back is going to make Chelsea's successful spell that I think we can all see is round the corner even more successful than if he was to stay on the injury table, or as I like to do it when I do my ratings, in the player jail, which through no fault of his own, Ruben was injured and he's on his way back. I'm still in Sweden, got my hat on, it's bloody freezing. It spent the whole night raining last night. I was hoping it was going to be a bit of snow, but not quite that lucky. Still a little bit of rain. So all of the lineups that we're going to go through, I'm going to show them up on the screen, similarly to the way I do in my match previews when I'm predicting the starting 11 for Chelsea in their matches. And the first one we're going to go through is we're going to revert back to 3 defenders with 2 wing-backs and try and fit Ruben Loftus Cheek into a formation that way. So obviously, we've got a lot of other decisions to be making regards who is the centre-back pairing or the triple pairing as it may be. Who's going to start a right wing-back, and does Emerson come back in for Alonso at left wing-back when he's fully fit? So we're going to go with the first one. We're going to stick Kepa in goal. We're going to stick Emerson as the left wing-back, and we're going to go with Reece James Tomori on the left. No place for Zuma. You can see the issue that we've got here already, and we've not even got into fitting Loftus Cheek in right now. There's so many quality players across all positions in this Chelsea squad. So that moves us forward. Now we've already used up 6 of our players, meaning only 5 more options are available to us. So we're going to stick 3 midfielders in front, and I think that when we really look at the quality in this Chelsea side, I think having Ruben Loftus Cheek on the left-hand side of 3 in the middle is definitely the strongest that we have. N'Golo Kante in right central midfield, Jorginho in the middle. I definitely feel as though the left-hand side, if we're looking at Ruben as an individual, being on the left-hand side of that central midfield is definitely where Ruben's strengths are at its peak. We've heard managers in the past thinking Ruben Loftus Cheek can play as a striker. We've seen him as an attacking midfielder, and due to the physicality of the bloke and how big he is, we've also seen managers want to try and put him in more of a defensive role. But I think that sticking him in too much of a defensive role, it kind of is a bit of a waste of time. When you've got Jorginho who's so good at screening the back line, Kante can win the balls back, and then who is the man to carry it forward? It's Ruben Loftus Cheek. So sticking him on that left, having Jorginho in more of a defensive role, with Kante again just having that free roam across the middle, definitely how we can get the best out of Ruben there. So that leaves us with only 2 more places left in the starting 11, and we can't really start taking out the Premier League's top goal scorer from the starting 11, so Tammy Abraham is in there as kind of like a false 9 or as a second striker. I've gone with either Callum Hudson-Odoi or Mason Mount. You can see them transitioning between the 2 here. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think playing in a 3-5-2 with 3 in the middle of the park would work for Chelsea? In which case, who do we think is going to play alongside Tammy Abraham the furthest forward? Probably has to be Hudson-Odoi. I think that obviously he's just signed a big bumper new deal, and his attacking qualities and the way he works would be too much if he's fully fit to actually miss out from a starting 11. So that would see Mason Mount dropped out of the team. Now, Mason has made a very good start to the season. He had his England debut last night, which was, well, he didn't have his England debut, he had his full England debut, his first start. England were beaten 2-1, and I think that Gareth Southgate tactically got it all wrong, meaning we didn't get to see Mason Mount at his best, as we have done in the early stages of the season for Chelsea. I already mentioned it in a video the other day. Somebody clipped it up and tweeted it to me, and I was quite glad they did, because I think it's a big point to make. Some of the haters are just jumping on the back of Mason Mount because they can, because they just need a bit of attention in their lives, and hating on someone who's clearly doing very well is a good way to get the nibbles in the fishing rod that we like to often refer to on this channel. So Mason Mount is still in there with a shot. The next one we're going to go through is a definite way to get Ruben and Mason in the same starting 11 for Chelsea. So the next formation we're going to go to is back to 4 at the back, a 4-2-3-1 formation. I think you can already see where this one's going to go. It might see one of either Ruben or Mason Mount playing slightly out of position, but let's just for argument's sake stick Azpilicueta In the right-back position, we're going to go with Andreas Christensen and Fikayo Tomori in centre-back. Again, we could argue all day long about what centre-backs it's going to be. This video is more tailored into trying to fit Ruben Loftus Cheek back into the Chelsea side, so we'll save those arguments for later. Emerson at left-back. Now, if we're looking at a back five, that's the back five. You've then got Kante. Again, if Kante is fit, he's got another injury in the warm-up for France. Fingers crossed it's not too serious. The next formation will be without Kante. We'll go into his injury a little bit more. Kante and Jorginho in front of that defence. I think we all know that is probably the strongest option that we have if we're playing in a 4-2-3-1. So moving us forward, we've then got the option of Christian Pulisic on the right-hand side or Callum Hudson-Odoi. Despite Hudson-Odoi wanting to play on the left, we're trying to incorporate Mason Mount into this team. Mason, even though he prefers playing in the number 10 role and he's much better from a central position, we see him drifting over to the left, drifting over to the right. When he plays in the centre, it gives him more options in terms of that press to give Tammy Abraham as the lone striker a lot more support. But if we're looking to try and build Ruben Loftus Cheek's strengths into this Chelsea team, I think at this point in time, despite the good start to the season that Mason Mount has had, I think that we definitely get more benefits having the physicality of Ruben Loftus Cheek in more of a central role. So if we're putting Ruben Loftus Cheek in the central attacking midfield position, Hudson-Odoi or Mason Mount or even Willian, we could see Pulisic with Loftus Cheek in the middle and then Mason on the left or Hudson-Odoi on the left. But I definitely feel as though with a 4-2-3-1 formation, we get the opportunity to see both Mason Mount and Ruben Loftus Cheek in this team. Moving us into another option, and as I mentioned, hypothetically, N'Golo Kante. Let's just talk about N'Golo Kante for a second. Injured again in the warm-up against France. This isn't even an injury in a 50-50 tackle. This isn't an injury where he's bombing up and down the pitch, which we often see him do. It's an injury in the warm-up, which suggests to me N'Golo Kante has been playing matches for Chelsea most likely when he's not been 100% fit. I think we all kind of knew it, but I think anyone who gets injured in the warm-up, unless it's like a freak incident, I think we all know that it's an underlying long-term problem. It's a longer-term issue that probably stems way back to the Europa League final when we know he played and he was injured there. N'Golo Kante, is it going to be a long-term injury issue for Chelsea? And I saw my man Jan put on Twitter about the way that Kante plays and the intensity to which he plays. At the age of 29, coming up 30, do we only have a limited amount of time where N'Golo Kante is going to be fully featuring in this Chelsea side? Now, you'd think that despite the energy this man has, he probably is one of those kind of players in that world-class category where, despite the intensity of which he plays, he probably will be able to play at that kind of level for many years. But if these injuries that we're seeing now in the warm-up and the ones that have kept him from coming in and then going out and coming in and coming out of the Chelsea team, if they carry on at the repetitive nature that they are right now, N'Golo Kante is not going to be a full-time starter in this Chelsea team. Which, again, we could make an entire new video on the situation. Jan brought it up earlier, saying that, well, maybe we could sell him for 150 million to Real Madrid. I'm just going to say right now, I never want Kante to leave Chelsea. I think that when he's fit, the difference he makes to this squad, it goes from being top drawer to like next level, I think, for N'Golo Kante. He has such a massive influence in this Chelsea team. He's just a good guy all round, really, isn't he? But at the end of the day, Chelsea might need to get used to a life where N'Golo Kante is not able to play every game. So if we stick with the 4-2-3-1 formation and we try and stick Ruben in again, this time, without N'Golo Kante, we could see Loftus Cheek alongside Jorginho. Obviously, Jorginho is the man that stays back. Loftus Cheek kind of has that license to go forward a little bit more, the same way that Kante does when he plays in a 4-2-3-1 for Chelsea. If we're talking about Ruben playing in the 2, in the pivot, as we've seen so many times already under Frank Lampard, it means that we can use Mason Mount in his preferred position in the number 10. So as always, I'd love to know you guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below. In terms of Ruben Loftus Cheek or Mason Mount, which one of these two players do you guys think needs to either move out of his preferred position to cater for the other? Do you think there is a way to get both players in their preferred positions in this starting 11 for Chelsea? But if we're putting Ruben Loftus Cheek in the pivot, Mason Mount in the number 10, it means Hudson-Odoi can play in his preferred left-hand side of that attacking midfield, with the right-hand side being operated by either Willian or Christian Pulisic. I think at this moment in time, it would more likely be Willian due to his form. In terms of the future for Chelsea, if we look at the age of those players and the potential, Christian Pulisic, Mason Mount and Hudson-Odoi behind Tammy Abraham, for all of these formations, we're using Tammy as Chelsea's #1 striker. That just shows how well that man has done so far this season. That looks like a really exciting lineup for the future. And of course, the issue with all of this, and obviously it's so great to have so many good players coming back from injury, giving Frank Lampard and Chelsea so many options. But the problem we have is there's always going to be somebody that we want to see play being sacrificed in order to fit a player like Ruben Loftus Cheek in. I've said it countless times in my videos that I think Ruben is so key with his strength, with his ability to play pretty much anywhere in the midfield. He can defend, he can go forward, he offers an attacking outlet for scoring goals. I think that no matter what it is and no matter who it is that gives way, as long as Ruben's injury doesn't affect him in the long run and he does come back the same physical player that he was before, it might take a while, but I think as long as Ruben is in there, he's a first name on the team sheet for me at Chelsea. So if we take a look at a 4-3-3 formation, sadly, this is the one where we have to drop Mason Mount. I think you guys also know, and some people say that I'm too biased, but I just don't want to ignore how good Mason Mount has been so far this season. We've been for a walk in the forest today, and I'm itching everywhere. I hope I haven't got any ticks. Tilda found a tick in the back of her neck not too long ago. She's inside having a shower at the moment. Let's go with a 4-3-3, shall we? Kante, Jorginho and Loftus Cheek. If we're taking N'Golo Kante out because he's injured, Kovacic, Jorginho, Loftus Cheek. A lot of people have said to me it's kind of like Kovacic is a forgotten man. I wouldn't say he's a forgotten man. I just think we bring it back to the point that I said not too many seconds ago. Sadly, there is an abundance of talent in this Chelsea team and we can only start 11 players, so sacrifices need to be made. But if Kante's injured, we go Kovacic, Jorginho, Loftus Cheek. In terms of that three in the midfield, there's a lot of industry in there. We've got Kovacic's ability to tackle hard, to dribble with the ball, take it forward, gives Ruben a bit more of a free roam to start manoeuvring around into more attacking positions to contribute towards that attacking three that would probably be Willian, Abraham and Hudson-Odoi at this point. Depending on injuries, depending on fitness, you stick Pulisic in there. You've also got Pedro as an option if we need to, and Mason Mount as well can play on the left. What we're trying to say here in this video is that there are many ways for Ruben Loftus Cheek to come back into this Chelsea team, but it does depend on whether or not there's any longer term issues regarding that injury, which is a very serious one. Sometimes players come back and they're not the same players as they were before. I think the fitness team at Chelsea and those that are actually helping Ruben get back to his full fitness by making sure he's doing the right training, the right exercise, I'm sure that everyone is very well aware of how serious Ruben's injury could be for his future as a professional footballer. So in terms of taking risks, in terms of when we're going to see Loftus Cheek come back into this Chelsea team, we're seeing him in training now. He's got a bit more of a jog on. He's getting involved with first team training, I believe. But I do feel as though we won't see Ruben starting for Chelsea until at least the end of November. Right now, there's obviously a lot of players in good form. Jorginho's in great form, Mason Mount is in great form, Willian's in great form, Hudson-Odoi has come back looking pretty sharp. I feel as though Ruben is going to be eased back into this Chelsea team. In terms of what it does to Frank Lampard's tactical formations and the way we tactically set up on the pitch, we've got to look at Ruben as a versatile midfielder who can offer us a lot defensively, but also a lot going forward. So whatever Frank chooses to do, I believe it's very important that we play to Ruben Loftus Cheek's strengths. Whether that's in a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3 or a 3-5-2, we shall see. Obviously, I'm sure there are plenty of other ways that you guys can see Ruben coming in. Who do you think is the player who might miss out if Ruben does come back with a bang? Who do you think is going to be missing out on minutes if they may have been having quite a few so far this season? The N'Golo Kante injury, we don't know, or should I say injuries, we don't know how much that's going to affect Chelsea for the longer term this season. But from what I understand and from what we can see, Kante keeps getting little niggles, and maybe the fact he is so shy, he doesn't want to let the team down, or he doesn't want to say, you know what, boss, I'm not feeling fully fit, so maybe don't start me. I'm sure he's always eager to play, but maybe at the moment that could be at the detriment to his long-term fitness and ability to play 90 minutes week in, week out for Chelsea. I'm sure we're going to see next week. I fully expect Kante to be rested against Newcastle. I don't think it's the kind of game we want to rush him back in. I expect Kovacic to come back into the lineup, but of course I'll go through that in my Newcastle preview later next week. But anyway, this has been my video on how Ruben Loftus Cheek fits back into this Chelsea team. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Give me some options, give me some lineups, and like I said yesterday, I've recently started a Patreon Discord server where I'm entering the chat multiple times a day, chatting to you guys in there. It's great fun. We're going into a lot more detail than we do in these videos in terms of what's going on. It's only like 79 pence a month, and at the moment we've got about 25 members in there, so everyone's getting a bit of time. It's a good little community we're building. Link to that in the description down below. It's through Patreon, $1 a month. You get access to the Discord server. We're going to be setting up different chat rooms so that we can talk about non-Chelsea topics, Chelsea lineups, going over a lot of stuff in there right now. So check that out. Subscribe to the George Benson Football channel if you haven't already. It's free to do so. Click the bell notifications. Let me know your thoughts on this video in the comments down below. I'm absolutely freezing, by the way. The hat is not like a prop just for fun. It's genuinely really cold here today. There's a train going by now. Bloody hell. See you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.